ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे
वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्।
ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः सुष्ठुवागुंसस्तुनोभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्ठनेमिः स्वस्ति न बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Okay, now Tanmay will lead us through the chanting of the Tritiya Mundaka Pratama Khandaha. Tanmay.
Om Acharya, I'll just. Om Ath Tritiya Mundake Prathama Khandaha.
Ath Tritiya Mundake Pratama Khandaha.
Dvasuparna Sayuja Sakhaya.
Dvasuparna Sayuja Sakhaya.
Samanam Vriksham Parishasvajate.
Samanam Vriksham Parishasvajate.
Tayoranyah Pippalam Svadvati.
Tayoranyah Pippalam Svadvati.
Anashnannanyo Abhichakashiti.
Anashnannanyo Abhichakashiti.
Samane Vrikshe Purusho Nimagnaha.
Samane Vrikshe Purusho Nimagnaha.
Anishaya Shochati Muhyamanaha.
Anishaya Shochati Muhyamanaha.
Jushtayada Pashyatanyamishamasya.
Jushtayada Pashyatanyamishamasya.
Mahimanamiti Vitashokaha.
Mahimanamiti Vitashokaha.
Yada Pashyah Pashyate Rukmavarnam.
Yada Pashyah Pashyate Rukmavarnam.
Kartaram Isham Purusham Brahmayonim.
Kartaram Isham Purusham Brahmayonim.
Tada Vidvan Punya Pape Vidhuya.
Tada Vidvan Punya Pape Vidhuya.
Niranjanah Paramam Samyam Upaiti.
Niranjanah Param Samyam Upaiti.
Prano Hyeshaya Sarvabhutair Vibhati.
Prano Heshaya Sarvabhutair Vibhati.
Vijanan Vidvan Bhavati Nativadi.
Vijanan Vidvan
Bhavati Nativadi.
Atmakrida Atmaratih Kriyavan.
Atmakrida Atmarathik Kriyavan.
Esha Brahma Vidam Varishtaha.
Esha Brahma Vidam Varishtaha.
Satyena Labhyas Tapasa Hyesha Atma.
Satyena Labhyas Tapasa Esha Atma.
Samyagnyanena Brahmacharyena Nityam.
Samyagnyanena Brahmacharyena Nityam.
Antasharire Jyotirmayo hi Shubhraha.
Antah Sharire Jyotirmayo hi Shubha.
यं पश्यन्ति यतयः क्षीणदोषाः
यं पश्यन्ति यतयः
पश्यन्ति
क्षीणदोषाः
यः क्षीणदोषाः
सत्यमेव जयते नानृतम्
सत्यमेव जयते नानृतम्
सत्येन पन्था विततो देवयानः
सत्येन पन्था विततो देवयानः
येनाक्रमन्त्य ऋषयो ह्याप्तकामाः
येनाक्रमन्ति यो ऋषयो ह्याप्तकामाः
यत्र तत्सत्यस्य परमन्निधानम्
यत्र तत्सत्यस्य परमं निधानम्
बृहच्च तद्दिव्यम् अचिन्त्यरूपम्
बृहच्च तद्दिव्यमचिन्त्यरूपम्
सूक्ष्मा च तत्सूक्ष्मतरं विभाति
सूक्ष्मा च तत्सूक्ष्मतरं विभाति
दूरात् सुदूरे तदिहान्तिके च
दूरात् सुदूरे तदिहान्तिके च
पश्यत्स्विहैव निहितं गुहायाम्
पश्यत्स्विहैव
न चक्षुषा गृह्यते नापि वाचा
न चक्षुषा गृह्यते नापि वाचा
नान्यैर्देवैस्तपसा कर्मणा वा
नान्यैर्देवैस्तपसा
ज्ञानप्रसादेन विशुद्धसत्त्वः
ज्ञानप्रसादेन विशुद्धसत्त्वः
ततस्तु तं पश्यते निष्कलं ध्यायमानः
ततस्तु तं पश्यते निष्कलं ध्यायमानः
एषोऽणुरात्मा चेतसा वेदितव्यः
एषोऽणुरात्मा चेतसा वेदितव्यः
यस्मिन् प्राणः पञ्चधा संविवेश
यस्मिन्
प्राणः पञ्चधा संविवेश
प्राणैश्चित्तं सर्वमोतं प्रजानाम्
प्राणैश्चित्तं सर्वमोतं प्रजानाम्
निश्चितं सर्वमूतं प्रजानाम्
यस्मिन् विशुद्धे विभवत्येष आत्मा
यस्मिन् विशुद्धे विभवत्येष
यं लोकं मनसा संविभाति
यं लोकं मनसा संविभाति
विशुद्धसत्त्वः कामयते यांश कामान्
विशुद्धसत्त्वः कामयते
कामान्
तं लोकं जयते तांश्च कामान्
तं लोकं जयते तांश्च कामान्
तस्मात्त्मज्ञं ह्यर्चयेत् भूतिकामः
तस्मादात्मज्ञानचेत भूतिकामः
इति तृतीयमुण्डके प्रथमखण्डः
इति तृतीयमुण्डके प्रथमखण्डः Okay, so now we are on the 8th mantra. We are in the second last khanda, so that's progress. And the mantra says, na chakshusha grihyate na pivacha nanyair daivais tatpasa karmanava jnana prasadena vishuddha sattvaha tatastutam pasyate nishkalam dhyayamanaha. So grihyate, first line, third word, grihyate, grasping, taking hold of. So this Atma, all that to supply, this Atma is na grihyate, cannot be grasped. Chakshusha, through the eyes, na api vachaha, nor through the speech. Then the second line is na anye devai, na anyai devai tapasa. That first word breaks up. Na anye Devai tapasa. So here Deva means Indriyas, the sense organs. It doesn't mean the gods. So that has to be carefully understood. Here Devai means the sense organs. And therefore he's saying that this Atma cannot be na anya devaihi, through the sense organs, other sense organs. Why anya devaihi? What does he? Other sense organs, what does he say?
Because they've just used chakshusha and
Because
vata.
they use chakshusha. So that kind of close following the Mulam is necessary. Every word has a meaning, right? So, other sense organs apart from what we have already said, chakshu and vachaha, va karmana, or va is or karmana, or through karma also it cannot be done. That is the negation. How it cannot be done is the first two lines. The second line is jnana prasadena. The jnana prasadam means that mind which has been quietened down, tranquility of the mind, because of that what? Because of jnanam, vishuddha sattvaha, that mind becomes very, very calm, vishuddha sattvaha, sattvic in nature, and tataha, but tu, and then tam pasyate, that atmanam is seen. How? Nishkalam, which is free of any divisions. And how is it seen? Dhyayamanaha, while meditating. So now again, we have to be very careful about how we understand each word. Okay, before we start the actual discussion on this, on these lines, let me do a little bit of digression. It's interesting, and as advanced Vedantic students, we should be knowing. So Brahma Sutras, who wrote Brahma Sutras? Who is it?
Vedavyas.
Vedavyasa. Okay, it's Vyasacharya. A lot of people I know, including Vedantics, they say Shankaracharya. Shankara is not the author of Brahma Sutra, it's Vyasacharya. So, and Shankara has written a Bhashyam on Brahma Sutras. In fact, the Brahma Sutra is so terse that without the Bhashyam, it will make no sense. And therefore, whenever Brahma Sutra is studied, unlike the Upanishads, which can be studied without the Bhashyam also, Brahma Sutra is always studied with the Bhashyam of Shankaracharya. The Bhashyam itself is very terse. So there is an Acharya called Padmapada. He has written a commentary on Shankara's Bhashyam. Not on the Brahma Sutras, on Shankara's Bhashyam. So that commentary is called Panchapadika, in case anybody is interested. Padmapada's commentary on Shankaracharya's Bhashyam on the Brahma Sutras. It's called Panchapadika. Okay. So that's the story is not over there. Okay, so you've got Vyasacharya's Brahma Sutra, Shankaracharya's Bhashyam, and Padmapada's sub-commentary on Shankara's Bhashyam. Now, there is another Acharya called Prakashatman. He has written a further sub-commentary on the sub-commentary written by Padmapada. Okay, so see the sequence. There is Vyasacharya's Brahma Sutra, Shankara's Bhashyam, Padmapada's sub-commentary on that Bhashyam, and Prakashatmana's sub-commentary on the sub-commentary. So this Prakashatmana, his school of thought, his commentary has given rise to a school of Advaitic thought called Vivarna school. It is the Vivarna Darshanam. It's a particular school of thought based on Prakashatman's sub-commentary. Why is it important? Because Prakashatman says that Mahavakyam, the Mahavakyam in the Veda, directly produces jnana. And this particular sampradaya is called the Vivarna Sampradaya, because of this, the school itself is called Vivarna school, and therefore this Vivarna Sampradaya. What is its main thrust? It says Mahavakyam produces jnana. So the emphasis here is on Mahavakyam. Mahavakyam means what? Shravana. So Prakashatman's sub-commentary on the sub-commentary on the commentary on the Bhashyam. that is called Vivarna school of thought or Vivarna Sampradaya, it gives importance to Shravanam. It says Shravanam is the most important part of Jnanam because Mahavakyam produces Jnana. It's a bit involved, so I want to know if you understood. Everybody's clear?
Understood that which part, the bhashya of the bhashya of the bhashya, or the import of what that basically means at the Mahavakyam?
Yeah, I mean, the Mahavakyam produces Jnanam is the import, but we should know how it came about. It's not directly from Vyasacharya or Shankara, or in fact, Shankara's commentator. It is on the commentator of Shankara's commentator. Okay, so that's one. Okay, now, so that just keep that in memory, that this Vivarna Sampradaya says that Mahavakyam produces Jnanam, therefore focusing on what? Focusing on Shravanam. Because Mahavakyam is the direct producer of Jnana. Okay, which is what we all think, right? Shravanam produces Jnana. Okay. Now, Shankara's Bhashyam, we go back to Shankara's, to Vyasacharya's Brahma Sutra and to Shankara's Bhashyam. Now, there is another commentator called Vachaspati Mishra. Okay, Vachaspati Mishra. He has written a sub-commentary on Shankara's Bhashyam, on the Brahma Sutra. What is the import here? Incidentally, this particular commentary has led to another Advaitic Sampradaya, which is known as Bhamati Sampradaya. So these two Sampradayas are very important, are the prominent Sampradayas in Advaita, the Vivarna Sampradaya and the Bhamati Sampradaya. What does the Vivarna Sampradaya say? That Shravanam produces Jnana, because it is the Mahavakyam which produces the Jnana. So Vachaspati Mishra says no. He differs. He says it is not the Mahavakyam which produces the Jnana. This is all hair splitting, okay? And Shankara doesn't go into the hair splitting, but the sub-commentators and the sub-commentators do. But this Vachaspati Mishra says that no. Mahavakyam does not produce the Jnana. It is the mind which produces the Jnanam when the Mahavakyam acts on the mind. So there is a difference. What is the difference? One, the focus is on Shravanam. That Mahavakyam produces Jnana. That is Vivarna Sampradaya. What is Bhamati Sampradaya? No. It is the mind which produces the Jnanam. The mind should be acted upon by the Mahavakyam. Okay. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Clearly, right? Now, so these are two main sampradayas of what we call Advaita Vedanta. Now, Shankara normally doesn't get into the hair splitting and all that. But in his commentary on this mantra, Shankara supports the Bhamati Sampradaya, not the Vivarna Sampradaya. Shankara says that here, Shruti Upanishad is talking about the importance of meditation. And the moment you talk about meditation, the mind is involved. And therefore, this particular Sampradaya is being supported in his commentary. And he says here that it is not the, he uses two words, sadhana karanam and asadharana karanam. So, sadhana karanam, the sadharana karanam and asadharana karanam. So, the sadharana karanam means common. Asadharana karanam means not common. So, those are all words which he uses, but you can simply understand that sadharana karanam, the common, what they call, instrument, is what is karma yoga, upasana yoga, all those things. So anything producing chitta shuddhi, he calls sadharana karanam, and jnanam he calls asadharana karanam. The names are important because you come across these later on in some Upanishads also. So just remember the names. Karma yoga and any sadhana producing chitta shuddhi he refers to as sadharana karana. Sadharana means common, and asadharana means uncommon or special. The special one is jnanam. The common one is your normal chitta shuddhi producing sadhanas. So he says that the effect of the sadharana karanam, the chitta shuddhi producing sadhanas, is what produces chitta shuddhi. And that kind of a mind is called a sukshma buddhi, or in English we can call it subtle intellect. And the subtle intellect consists of two major qualifications. One is the quietude of the mind, undisturbed, tranquil mind, which is sattva guna predominant, sattva guna pradhanam mind, sattva guna pradhanam manaha. It's a calm mind, it's an alert mind, and it is not influenced by rajoguna and tamoguna. Not influenced is a very, very what I call important word. Why do we say not influenced? To indicate that absence of tamoguna and rajoguna are not being mentioned. It is the presence, in the presence of those two gunas also, the mind is not influenced by those gunas. Remember, the mind can never be free of gunas. Sattva and rajas are going to be there. Tamo is also going to be there. But this undisturbed, tranquil mind, which we call a low FIR mind in our language, it is basically sattva guna predominant mind. And that such a mind is free of the influence, not free of the gunas. So that is the first qualification. Undisturbed, relatively undisturbed, tranquil mind. The other one is jnana yoga. Exposure to Shravanam, Maranam, Nididhyasanam, especially Nididhyasanam. Remember that all karma yoga and upasana yoga are meant for increasing the sattvic ratio of the mind. Right? Other than having this increase in the content of sattva in the mind, there is no other way the mind can be called quiet or sattvaguna pradhana. Now look at the first two lines of the mantra. The first one says what? Na chakshusha grihyate. Atma, you have to supply that Atma over there. Na Atma chakshusha grihyate. Atma cannot be grasped with the eyes. Na api vachaha, nor indeed with the words also. So the Atma is not available for perception with the eyes. It is not available for verbal description also. Why so? Because any words can describe only experiences of the material world. Because our language itself is designed to be able to express what we experience from the achetana saguna prapancha, from the inert world with gunas, with trigunas. And Brahman is not available for that kind of description. And therefore he says, na vacha api grahyate. Words also cannot grasp. Okay. Why are we talking about the subtle mind and saying that the indriyas will not grasp? So there is a small little Shubhashitam. I don't know if you have, I probably said it a few times. I don't know if you remember. It says, Yasya nasti swayam pragnya shastram tasya karoti kim. Yasya nasti swayam pragnya shastram tasya karoti kim. Lochana abhyam vihinasya darpanam kim karishyati. So a very beautiful little Shubhashitam. So let's see what it says. Yasya nasti swayam pragnya. So yasya, for that person, swayam pragnya na asti, who does not have intellectual capacity, a discriminative mind. Tasya shastram karoti kim. What use is the shastram for that person? And he gives an example. Lochana bhyam vihinasya, the one who doesn't have the eyes. Darpanaha kim karishyati. Of what use is the mirror to that person. The mirror is of no use to a blind person. In the same manner, for a person who does not have a discriminative mind, a sattvic pradhana mind. Yasya nasti swayam prajna. The sattva pradhana mind is not there. Shastram tasya karoti kim. For that person, the shastram is of no use. So the best of gurus or acharyas may be there, and you may take the most, subtle of all the Upanishads. But swayam prajna, the sattvika mind, if it is not there, then the teaching is of no use to you. That is why he insists upon the mind. Mind being made more and more subtle. The second line, if you look, na anne devaihi na tapasa karmana. So you have to add na anne devaihi na tapasa na karmana va. You have to add the na everywhere. So na anne devehi. As I said here, deva means sense organs, the jnanendriyams. So here the word deva is being used because you're referring to the tattva bodha, where there is a adhisthana devata for all the individual indriyas. And therefore, by using devaha, he means sense organs. So he says the sense organs other than na anne, other than the eyes, cannot grasp. Okay. Now the point is, supposing I'm not able to perceive something, but I may be able to put it into words in terms of my feelings, etc. So he adds na api vachaha. Words also cannot describe the Brahman. Why can words not describe the Brahman? The thing is that we keep on using only words to talk about Brahman. So when the same Shastram, which is using words to describe Brahman, it is saying na api vachaha, what meaning should you give it? How will you interpret the statement that this Brahman na api vachaha cannot be described in words while you are using only words? Every Shastram uses only words to describe. How will you understand? By now you should be able to give that answer. You're all advanced students. Come, think.
Acharya, this is the para and apara part of it, where words themselves, they can perhaps be used to describe something, describe the characteristics, although Brahma is beyond the gunas, but mere description will not give the person any jnana that has to be understood or perceived by the self. So the words alone will not do anything that has to be understood only by the self.
That is one explanation. Anybody else? Where are the panditines? Other panditines? All are panditines only over here. Anybody?
Anirvachaniya.
Nirvachaniya simply means cannot be described. But I am saying that the Shastram is using words to describe. And yet it is saying that it cannot be described. You're all familiar with the concept which I'm talking about, but it's not coming to your mind right now. Why? Okay, let me give you a hint. When I say I ate a banana, what does it mean? That's a very broad hint. Okay, now you should know. Come on, guys.
Pratyaksha and apratyaksh
Acharya,
pramana.
can I try?
Yeah, please.
So banana, I ate a banana. The banana peel is like the shabd, and the shabdarth is the banana, which I ate. So we should be able to understand the shabdarth. Shabdarth is what is
Put it in the right
to be understood.
Vedantic language, which you studied in ADTC.
The shabd itself is the Anathema, and the Gyan is only understanding of the
So,
Shabdartha.
when you say I ate the banana, you are mentally dropping the peel.
Mhm.
What is that called?
You're absorbing you are dropping the words while understanding that.
What is it called? What is the technique called?
Anvaya vritti reka.
Nope. Jaha, ajaha, lakshana.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Okay, very, very common word. So what you are doing is you are using which meaning? There are two meanings. The vachyartham of a word and lakshyartham of a word. Always. When you are saying I ate the banana, you are not using vachyartham. Vachyartham is dictionary meaning. You are using the lakshyartham, which says that I ate the banana without the peel. And therefore, when we say, or when Shruti says that Napi Vachaha, Shruti means that you cannot use Vachyartham of the words to talk about Brahman. You have to use Lakshyartham only. Right? Vedanta can be understood only by using Lakshyartham. What is Lakshyartham in English?
Inference.
Implied meaning.
Implied.
Implied.
It's not the actual dictionary meaning. It is the implied meaning. Right? Now, you also should know that, which somebody else mentioned, that every word has got a attached object referring to the word. Right? For example, pen is a word. And this pen is the padarth of that word. Pen is called padartham. The object referred to, in fact, the word itself, pada artha. Pada is the word, pen. Pada artha is the object. Okay. So when you use vachyartham, it is always this, the padartham. When I say pen, vachyartham is the dictionary meaning, which is this padarth. That means what? That when you use the word vachyartham, you are saying that the sense organs can objectify the object. Like yourself, we can see this. The eyes can see this. The hands can feel it. Two sense organs can objectify this particular object. Therefore, it is a padaka artha, padartha. But Brahman cannot be objectified. Why?
Indriya
You are
Gosha.
this.
Why can Brahman not be objectified by the sense organs?
But it's the subject itself.
Because it is a subject itself. Subject can never be objectified. And therefore, Vachyartha cannot be used. You can only use the implied meaning for Lakshyartham. It is very important to understand that. Otherwise, when somebody says Napi Vachaha, you say, oh, we cannot talk about Brahman at all. That is what the normal understanding is. How can Brahman be talked about at all? It's not. Brahman cannot be revealed by Vachyartham because the one who is using the Vachyartham, he is the subject. Okay. And also, since words are finite, Shastram is revealing Brahman, which is not finite, which is infinite, using finite words. And the problem with finite words is every word being finite can reveal only a finite meaning using Vachyartham. If a word has to reveal something more than the finite meaning, which is infinite, then you have to use Lakshyartham. That background we need to understand. That is what it means with na vachaha, na tapasa. Next one. Atma cannot be grasped by tapas. Why? Because Atma is the very swarupa, the very nature of the one who is doing the tapas. So tapas is important, but good for chitta shuddhi. And this is where I said the Bhamati Matam is being talked about. Okay, because Bhamati Matam It says very clearly that everything you do is for chitta shuddhi. That mind which is cleaned with that chitta, with that tapas and all those things, that only can grasp the Atma. So tapas is important, but can be only good for chitta shuddhi. It cannot substitute for jnana yoga. Vedanta, Shravanam, Manana, Nidhyasana. Why? Why do we say that tapas cannot give jnanam? We want a Vedantic answer, okay? Why do we say that tapas cannot give jnanam?
Acharya, because it's a karma that is being done. And
Uh, One very basic question. What gives jnanam?
well, finally, nothing gives jnanam. You are the
Shravanam.
jnana itself.
Shravanam gives.
Guys, supposing I want to know this object, what is the Triputi?
Well, there is a vritti of the object that you need.
Okay. But
Through
what is the Triputi involved in this?
Through the
There's a triad involved. Three pieces are involved in knowledge.
The knower, the means of knowledge, and
संस्कृत में बोलिए ना आंसर मिल जाएगा फटाफट
pramata, prameyam,
and
Pramanam.
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 The pramatra uses the pramanam to get knowledge of the prameyam. So what is the source of knowledge?
Pramanam.
Pramanam. Pramanam is source of knowledge. Now we have talked about pramanam. How many pramanams have we talked about?
All our indriyas.
Vedantically, how many pramanams are there?
as many objects as there are.
Vedanta classifies pramanams. Yoga Sutra also classifies pramanams.
Pratyaksh, Paroksh.
Yes, go on. Pratyaksh. Then we have talked about this before.
Yes.
What are they? Pramanams. How many pramanams are there?
Is it Pratyaksha, Arthapati, Pratyaksha, Anumana,
You are right. You are
Upamana,
right. But
Arthapati?
how many are there?
5
Six.
to 6.
Six.
5 or 6?
6.
Six.
6. It's called Shad Pramanani. What are they?
Pratyaksha,
Pratyaksham. Then
Anumana,
Anumanam.
Upamana,
Upamanam.
Arthapati,
Arthapati.
Anuplabdhi,
Anuplabdhi.
and Shabda.
And Shabda. Okay. 6 are there. These are the only 6 pramanams. Do you find tapas in that? No. And therefore, tapas cannot give jnana. Anything which is not part of Shad Pramanani cannot give jnanam for a Vedantic student. You can do tapas, you can do samadhi. They don't fall in the 6 pramanams, and therefore we say that anything other than the Shad Pramanani, the 6 pramanams, will not be able to give you jnanam. Right? Any doubts on that? These are all very, very basic concepts which must be very clear in our mind. Okay. So he says, Tapasa Brahma Vijignyasasva. Taittiriya Upanishad says, Tapasa Brahma Vijignyasasva. Very clear statement saying, you should know Brahman through tapas. Whereas here we are saying that, na tapasa. Whenever such a contradiction comes, how will you understand? Because we have not done Taittiriya. So this is a statement from Taittiriya. Tapasa Brahma Vijignyasasva. No Brahman through tapas. The only way that that statement can be reconciled is to take a contextual understanding. Which is why I keep on saying every word in Veda has to be interpreted contextually. And therefore, when Taittiriya Upanishad says tapasa brahma vijñasasva, vijñasasva means you should know Brahman how? Tapasa, through tapas. To make it consistent with the entire teaching which we have studied so far, what should be the meaning of tapas in that statement?
Nitityasna?
No.
Okay.
Vichar, inquiry, Shravanam, Mananam. Okay, we are saying only through one of the 6 pramanams can you get knowledge. Tapas is not there. So if at all you come across a statement in the Veda which says tapas will give knowledge, you have to understand that tapas has to be understood as Shravanam and Mananam only. That is basically vichara, inquiry. Okay, so that why I'm saying this, because you'll come across thousands of contradictory statements in every Upanishad. Unless you read the proper commentary, you will take it as face value. Face value will be always wrong. Tapasa vachyartham is something else. Tapasa lakshyartham here is something else. And then
Acharya, I have a small question. Sorry, Rebik, since we're on the topic of tapas.
yes.
In the Bhagavad Gita, in the 17th chapter, Bhagwan Krishna explains the threefold tapas, that if it has to meet with these 3 criteria, manasik, vachik and sharirik. So does that still hold true across then going forward into the Upanishads as well, or does it keep changing?
It is that tapas is basically the austerity part of it, not the knowledge part of it.
Well,
right?
it talks about all, because it talks about even vachik and manasik.
Yeah. So ultimately, Bhagavad Gita is only an extract.
Right.
So therefore, that same undercurrent will lie throughout. That thing will pervade all the interpretations.
Right. Because that indirectly also speaks about Shravan and Manan.
Yes. So manasika, it is definitely there.
Right. Okay.
Now, the next one is what? Nava karmana, nor by any amount of karma. Okay. The Atma cannot be grasped. It does not mean that karma is of no use. Right? Because very often people say, Arey, Veda says, na karmana va. What's the point of doing any karma? I will not do any work. No. Karma is not redundant, but don't stop with karma. Karma will only give you chitta shuddhi. You have to come to Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, otherwise known as Jnana Yoga. Okay. Right. Now, when he says na karmanava, you should recall something else we studied. The 4 phalams of karma. Karma can give 4 types of phalams. What are they? Everything that you studied has to be at your fingertips. What are the 4 types of phalams that karma can give?
Sure, there's utpatti,
Utpatti,
or then there's apyam,
apti,
then there's vikaryam
vikaryam,
and samskaryam.
samskaryam. So would you like to explain to others what they all mean?
I'll try.
Okay.
Utpatti literally means the creation of something. So anything that is produced by karma in any kind of desh or kal in the limits of space and time, that is that karma phalam is called utpadya karma phalam. And then there is apyam or apti, which is something that is obtained, the attainment of some goal or going to some place or getting
reaching some place.
yeah, so like Swarga Prapti, etc. Something that already exists, therefore you can go and get it or be there or something like that.
Right.
Vikaryam is the karma phalam that is obtained because of the vikar or something, the modification of
Modifications, change, like milk turning into curds.
Yeah. And samskaryam is literally the samskrityam. So that's a purification.
Purification, right? Like cleaning the dust off a mirror.
Right.
Now, if you apply those 4 phalam, they are the only 4 phalams of karma. Does moksha fall within that is the question. And you will find that none of them, the first one is produced. So Atma cannot be produced, moksha cannot be produced because already there. It's an already existing state, so it can't be produced. There is no purification possible. There is no change possible. There is no reaching possible. And therefore, because of that, when he says na karmanava, you have to immediately connect to that Vedantic discussion which we had. These are 4 phalams of karma, and karma can give only those 4 phalams, and therefore na karmanava. Okay, so please understand that a proper understanding, you can't just say that Shruti says is not done by karma. Fine, I accept. No. Why? The analysis is because of those 4 phalams. Therefore, every topic that we do, you must consistently keep in mind. Otherwise, it becomes difficult to say. Now, also, I told you about Taittiriya, right? But in an earlier verse, in this very khanda, in this very section, there was a completely contradictory verse. Mantra. One line of the mantra. Which one was that? As far as tapas is concerned, completely contradictory portion was there. Which we did in the last class, I think, probably. We will call it for that. What was that?
Satyam tapas
Satyena labhyas tapasa hesha
brahmacharya.
atma.
That is the 5th verse. Satyena labhya tapasa hesha atma. So Satyena you drop. Maybe that's not relevant right now. The rest of it, tapasa hesha atma labhya. Which is what? Completely contradicting what we are saying here. There we said this atma can be got through tapas. And 3 mantras later, na tapasa grihate. The contradiction, right? So this, understand this as the teaching style. First, karma and tapas are presented as absolutely necessary sadhana. And then, in case we get the understanding that it is the primary sadhana, this negation is to establish that it is necessary, but not the primary sadhana. It is the secondary supportive sadhana. Chitta Shuddhi is always the supportive sadhana, the sadharana sadhana. The asadharana sadhana is what? Jnanam only, is the primary tool. And therefore, we should always know very clearly the difference between primary and secondary sadhanas. Sadharana and asadharana sadhanam, we should be always very clear about. So what is the main sadhana? Vishuddha sattvaha jnana prasadena tam pashyate. Vishuddha sattva, the one who has purified his mind, who has freed his mind from the influence of raga and dvesha. How? Through a life of karma yoga and upasana yoga, building up sadgunas. Again, recall 13th chapter of Gita, 16th chapter of Gita. All these are extracts from there. This is all, very, very compressed form. So if you really want to understand what he means by sadguna, Vishuddha Sattva, you have to go back to chapter 3, Karma Yoga, chapter 13, Sadguna, chapter 16, Sadguna. All these have to be consistently kept in mind. With that only, this person, this sadhaka, what has he done? His mind has become free of the influence of ragadvesha. Again, please note the words. Free from the influence of ragadvesha. The mind will definitely have ragadvesha because it is the mind. No mind can be free of ragadvesha. But because of the jnana prasadam, because of the blessing of jnanam, what happens is this person, he does not act under the influence of the ragadvesha. This is the jnana prasadam. The blessing is because I am able to ignore the presence of the ragadvesha and act doing what should be done, not doing what should not be done. Okay. And Shankara in his commentary adds something very nicely. He says, everybody is competent by nature to understand the Atma. because all human beings, we are saying, all human beings are competent by nature to understand the Atma. It is not that anybody's mind is not competent. But he says because of being polluted by impurities, like attachment to external objects. So he uses the words Vishaya Ragadi dosha. The dosha, the mala of being attached to external objects. And therefore, since the mind becomes impure, he says that mind is not capable of understanding the Atma. Not that the mind is not capable. The mind itself is a competent instrument. But having been polluted by all these things, even though sannihitam api, even though the mind is closest to the Atma, it does not recognize it because of the pollution. And he gives two examples. He says, like a mirror covered with dust, in which you cannot see your face. It is not that the competence of the mirror to show your face is not there. It is just the pollution on the surface of the mirror, which you have to wipe away, and then you will be able to see your face. Or it is like agitated water. Moving water, when it is the ripples are there, you cannot see the bottom. What is required is to calm that water down. And therefore, eliminating the disturbances or the mala, when that covering, that veil is destroyed, and this veil is what? These impurities are what? Born out of Indriya Vishaya Samsarga. Born out of association of the sense organs with sense objects. So Shankara says, Indriya Vishaya Samsarga Janita Malaha. That Malaha, which is Janita, born out of Indriya Vishaya Samsarga. Samsarga is connection, association of Indriyas with Vishayas, of sense organs with sense objects. What is required is only to clean the mirror. Once that is done, the mind becomes calm, and that calm mind is Jnana Prasadam. It is a calm mind which will not be touched. It will have Ragadvesha, but because it is not polluted, it will be able to shrug off the effect of the Ragadvesha and act according to how it should be acting. So that Vishuddha Sattva is a mind not contaminated by Rajas and Tamas. Doesn't mean that Rajas and Tamas are not present. Simply means that Rajas and Tamas do not influence that person's activity. And Shankara adds very helpfully, this state of Vishuddha Sattva is not natural to a jiva. Okay? All of us, it is not natural because the normal state is what? Malina Sattva Pradhana. And if you remember Vivek Chudamani class which we had ages ago, Malina Sattvam means what? Contaminated by Rajas and Tamas. And therefore the sole purpose of Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga is what? Is to get rid of the Rajas and Tamas. Right? So remember that this Jnana Prasada Manaha, the mind which has been purified by getting rid of the influence of Rajas and Tamas, is still Ajnani mind. It is a quiet mind, but it is Ajnani mind. Right? And once Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga have done their job, you have a quiet mind. With that quiet mind, you do Shravanam, Maranam, Nididhyasanam. And then is the last line, Tam Pasyate Nishkalam. Nishkalam is without division, without parts. How? Dhyaya Manaha. So here, the last word, Dhyaya Manaha, implies that post-Jnanam meditation. It is not the concentration meditation which we practice as Upasana Yoga. So Upasana Yoga is different from Nididhyasanam in this respect. Upasana Yoga is for the purpose of plain concentration, Dharana, Dhyana, all those things. But post-knowledge, when you are meditating upon what you have learned, that yes, I am Brahman, Aham Brahma Asmi, that is Dhyayamanaha, Nididhyasanam. And therefore, he must have gone through Shravanam and Maranam. Therefore, this Dhyayamanam here, the practicing of Nididhyasanam, That is the asadharana karanam for Brahman knowledge. Very interesting, very beautiful little verse. Any questions?
Acharya, the dhyaya manaha, can we take it as the process of, from jnana to trying to go into jnana nishtha stage?
Yes, once you have completed the process of dhyayamana, if you remember, yeah, dhyayamana has got a visarga over there. Okay, so it's a subject, prathama vibhakti.
Right.
Dhyayamana here is the person who is doing the job.
Yes.
Okay, but yes, he is trying to perfect himself at jnana nishtha.
So it doesn't, so like you said, it's not the act of, sitting and, that during the karma yoga process, the
No,
meditation.
it
and
is
all
not that.
This
That is essential. That is essential to give you the jnana prasadena manaha.
So this is no matter whatever you're doing, your mind still stays in that satyam. Or,
Yes, yes,
no matter
yes.
what it is. So like the pralapan, visrajan, grindan, that portion.
Correct. But remember one more thing is that people often think that being jnana nishtha means
Not having any
your
raga.
mind is not affected. Your mind has no ragadesha. It is not.
Yes.
A very wrong view very often presented by many teachers is that Vedantic teachers, okay, they say that up to Shravanam Mananam, that is the Chitta Shuddhi state, you use Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga and you bring your mind to relative quiet. And you may have Raga Dvesha there, but you are strong enough not to be influenced. And post Jnanam and post Nididhyasanam, in the Jnana Nishtha state, they tell you that there is no Raga Dvesha in the mind. That is not correct. Why?
Acharya, I think you made this clear for us the last time also, that as long as Prakriti is there, the three gunas are always
Going to be there. So in Jnana Nishtha, you are established in the teaching, which means you know I am Brahman. So the mind can be full of Ragadvesha, but you know that that is not me. That's Jnana Nishtha. Jnana Nishtha simply means, Nishtha means established, firmly established. So firmly established in the teaching that I am Brahman. And therefore, whatever happens to the mind, it doesn't really matter to me. That is there. Ideally, of course, the mind will be, very much sort of under control. Why is it so important that you say Jnana Nishtha is the most important Because even after Jnanam, for all practical purposes, all of you here are Jnanis, okay? I hope none of you have any doubt that you are Brahman. Incidentally, do you have any doubt, guys, that you are Brahman? It's a very valid question at this point of time. Anybody? Because if you have a doubt, then you need to get back on Shravanam stage. More and more. You shouldn't be having any doubts at all that you are Brahman. But the Jnana Nishtha stage indicates that ups and downs in your life will not shake that knowledge. See, normally, I'm a Jnani, okay. Now something comes up, some problem comes up, and then the mind goes haywire. The mind going haywire is inconsistent with my knowledge that I'm a Jnani. But the understanding should be that the mind going haywire is okay because that is the mind, but I am still Brahman. That understanding that I am Brahman should not be shaken at all. That is Jnana Nishtha. No amount of turmoils in your life, no amount of sorrow in your life. And even a Jnani has bad times. Okay. Because I'm using the term Jnani as Jivatma Jnani. He has bad times. But those bad times do not shake his conviction that he is Brahman. That is Jnana Nishtha. That is what is being talked about. Okay, any questions? It's a very, very important verse.
And yet, Acharya, those difficult times are still very important, because that's exactly what helps you to gauge whether you are anywhere close to being established in that knowledge. How
That
much-
is why they say that the more spiritual you get,
Yeah.
the more troubles you will get.
Well, seem to get, but they possibly don't look at, don't look like troubles anymore.
Yeah, so in the Puranas, they will show it as Lord Indra getting jealous that you are progressing, and then he will send Apsara to dance in front of you.
Yeah.
So that's the implication is this, that the more focus you get,
The more troubles.
somehow
there are.
nature, begins to test you. Okay, really, are you there or not? Are you just
Yeah, throws big boulders.
big boulders at?
Scary boulders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your idea is to use those boulders to build your house.
Yes.
Then it is fine.
Yeah.
Break the boulders up, put cement on it, and build a small cave.
I don't know if it's relevant at all, Acharya, but if you give me permission, I'll speak for a minute about
Of
that.
course, of course.
There was this experiment that was conducted in some Scandinavian country, some Nordic country, where they tried to grow a small forest in a controlled environment. So, within like a greenhouse or something, very controlled environment where there weren't the harsh conditions of outside. And what they kept repeatedly finding was these trees would grow, and before their maturity, they would fall over. So they've not even grown as yet, and they would fall over. They wouldn't grow anymore. And then they found out that in through their research and all of that, they came to a conclusion that it is all the harsh conditions, in fact, all the resistant wind and all kinds of things, which give the strength to the trees, in fact, to grow and grow more and grow taller and taller.
Yeah.
And they weren't getting that in that controlled environment, and therefore they were not able to grow any longer. So
Exactly. So that's a good example. A Jnani will necessarily face problems because he'll thrive on those problems. And of course, he'll function as a role model also. So I'm going to stop here because I need to get back and correct the TTC papers. The exam just got over in the morning. So I have to correct and finish it within the next 2 hours. But I'm still open for any questions at all.
Acharya, just wondering, you do face problems despite being Jnani, but what if you get agitated with them? That's what is lowering the FIR?
Yes, the point is that when you know you're Jnani, what do you mean when I say I'm Jnani? Essentially, you are saying I'm Brahman.
I'm Brahman, yeah.
Right? And therefore, what happens to Anathema should not disturb me.
Okay.
And therefore, also remember the teaching is not complete by just knowing the nature of Brahman. If you remember 2nd chapter, he talks about the nature of Anathema also.
Yes.
Teaching is complete only when Paravidya, Aparavidya are both known. And when you know Aparavidya, you are understanding the nature of the Anathema. What is the nature of Anathema? Constantly fluctuating, subject to birth and death. All the Shadvikaras are there. And then you know that the mind is Anathema, and it is through that Anathema mind that you are studying. Anathema mind, however refined it is going to be subject to problems. And therefore, any problem should not shake your conviction that Aham Brahmasmi. That is the main thing. The moment your conviction is shaken, that's a problem. So in fact, earlier also I made a statement saying that even if your mind is weeping tons of tears, as long as you know that you are Brahman, there is no problem. The problem with that weeping tons of tears is what? That it has the capacity to shake your conviction. And that is why you do Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana is nothing but further refining the mind post your jnana. So whatever little, what they call vasanas and things remain, obstacles remain, those have to be removed to Nididhyasana. If you look at it, ultimately, Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Nididhyasanam all are meant for Chitta Shuddhi only. Because had you got a 100% Chitta Shuddhi mind, you wouldn't have gone beyond Shravanam. Shravanam would have given you everything. And even after Chitta Shuddhi and Shravanam and Mananam, if you are still not able to experience the benefits of Jnanam in terms of undisturbed mind, what does it mean? It means Chitta Shuddhi only is required. And therefore you do Nididhyasanam. Now, of course, in a more specific way, you take up your individual weaknesses and work on them. And you work on the fact that what the teaching is, I am. You are trying to reduce the gap between what you know and what you are. That is Nididhyasana. Ultimately, is all only essentially Chitta Shuddhi practice only. Jnanam is there as a difference.
Thank you.
So let's look at people who have not asked anything so far. Priyanka, are you Jnani by now?
No, sir, but I have understood that Brahman cannot be understood.
Okay.
It's a little heavy class.
This class. Oh boy, you just wait till you finish off this and go to the next Upanishads.
Raviji,
Hanji.
if we are Brahman, then we shouldn't go to temple and prayers and all this is not required. Is that so?
Who says? If you are Brahman, you should be able to worship everything. Because everybody else is also Brahman.
Okay.
Right?
I wish to go to Badri Kedar and everything. So is that it is,
No,
even
it is
if I
not.
am Brahman, I may visit all this or there is no need?
As Brahman, you need not visit. Why?
He's Akarta.
No, he's already there. Brahman is
Okay,
Sarvagata.
okay.
Brahman is Sarvagata.
Hmm.
But as Brahman, you do not have the capacity to either know or to visit.
Okay.
To either know or to visit, you need association with the human body, which is the Prajna body. That Prajna body visiting is no problem, providing that Prajna body is able to worship not only the Shivalinga at Kedarnath, but also the guy who carried you on his back to Kedarnath.
Okay. Okay.
Plus the donkey on which you sat to go, that also you should be able to worship. Then you are,
Right.
then you are Brahman.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much. And we will meet in the next class. And I hope to finish off this khanda in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your
so much,
patience.
Acharya. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Acharya ji.